And we are back. And in this episode, I've got a really, really interesting guest. We're going to talk about something which is very personal to me. It's about parents and about how their behaviour can often influence the people that we are today. So I want to introduce the amazing Julius Cowdrey. Jules, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm half Swedish, half English. Moved to London when I was 19 from Kent, so originally from the Garden of England. My dad played professional cricket, so did my grandpa, so I was sort of born into this sporting dynasty. I wanted to become a singer-songwriter. I literally thought that was going to be my whole life.
Right.
I think when you're younger, everyone goes, what do you want to be when you're older? What do you want to be when you're older? And I wish someone told me you can be anything you want and you can also change careers. Yeah. I didn't really realize that was possible. Got opportunities to be made in Chelsea, did reality TV stuff, which kind of gave me a little bit of a elevated presence, but also comes with the sort of whiplash or backlash of negative press. People think you're this type of person. And then went through my own personal struggles, lost a friend very sadly to suicide, and wanted to start helping people. I had this urge to want to help people, and so became a coach, started working with clients, and then that brings us to sort of what we're doing today, which is sort of trying to democratize wellness globally.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What I love about your content, and we've collaborated on a few things already, is that you're very, very open about your own vulnerabilities, and sometimes, if you don't mind me saying, your own flaws as a human. Like, what led you to that? What led you to think that's the kind of stuff that I want to put out?
When I was at my lowest, I didn't speak to anyone. When I was at my lowest, I isolated.
Yeah.
And like my friend who I lost, or friends who I have 3 guy mates who have tried and didn't succeed, right? So my big mission was to get men talking initially. And so if I talk and I'm talking about my stuff and I'm willing to be vulnerable, then maybe that allows and enables another man to do so as well. And it's not very easy as a man. We live in the UK, it's still a stigma to open up and talk.
Yeah.
And it took a bit of time to get there and actually feel comfortable doing so. But the more I did, the more I felt celebrated by people. Interestingly, I thought it would be the opposite. I thought people would go, you're weak, you're pathetic, just the classic things that a male believes that if they're going to be. Actually, I felt stronger.
Yeah.
I connected more deeply with my friends, with women as well. I connected online with people more. People said, thank you so much. I felt this too. And the more validation I got for opening up, the more I felt comfortable in doing so.
I call that positive validation. People always talk about validation as if it's a bad thing, seeking validation. But I think, if you're being praised for doing something which feels brave or uncomfortable, then if that's enough to keep you going, then that's always a good thing.
I think it was men going, thank you, I felt this too. It means a lot to see it. And then women going, wow, men are open? I mean, the amount of men. I mean, when we put that video up together, when I had you on the mic, the amount of people were commenting being like, who is this man? Like, there are men like this.
Yeah, I know.
Who are these 2 men? And I think it's you can go online really quickly and see a woman opening up and being emotional and vulnerable. You can go to a coffee shop and you'll see them all these girls talking to their mates, because it's just a done thing in society. But as men, it's still on the rise. It's still tough. It's still really challenging because the previous generation aren't talkers.
Yeah.
So most of us grew up with a generation of men that were stiff upper lip and didn't ever open their mouths emotionally. Don't know the word emotion.
Well, interestingly, you've led us really nicely onto the focal point of the episode.
That was an accident.
And that was brilliant. Great segue. The video which we put out, it was about me being a bit of a fuckboy and about me being incredibly avoidant, right? And I've come to a point in my life where I think that I understand the reasons why that is. And for me, it was about my dad, right? And my dad being incredibly avoidant and rejecting me multiple times as a kid, and me then almost inhibiting that behavior. And that's what I really, really want to focus on today, because, I think you have a mum and a dad that seem very, very similar in terms of the archetypes that I have with my parents. Can you give us a sense of their backgrounds?
Yeah, so my parents met quite late, and they were, interestingly, they're born in the same year, 8 days apart, which is crazy. And one's called Crystal, and one's called Christopher, and they both had the same nickname when they were younger. So it was like, almost you could write it like a novel, right?
Yeah.
3 years into us being alive, so I think it was. I mean, we're IVF first time attempt, crazy. Like back then, we were in the newspapers as like miracle twins, because back then, first time attempt, healthy twins. So you're wanted when you're IVF,
Yeah. It's effort.
And 3 years into us being alive, Dad has an affair. He has an affair with, he was with a stalker, actually. He was a very successful cricketer, England cricketer, and he has an affair, and Mum leaves, and Dad begs for her back, and they get back together. And what's really interesting, I mean, then he had multiple affairs, and mum stayed with him for us and sort of swept it under the carpet until my mum finds out. Well, it was kind of quite obvious that he was having an affair with my mum's best friend, my godmother, which is really, really weird when you grow up thinking he's your hero and your mum never said a bad word about him, even though she knew he was having affairs. And she's this angelic presence, this emotional person, and everything in her life was to keep us protected and safe, because she knew that a lot of unhappiness in men when they're older and women is from broken homes. And she didn't want us to have a broken home. So she sacrificed her happiness.
Yeah.
Really. She sacrificed her freedom, happiness, chance to meet someone else at that age for our well-being, our sense of self, our esteem. But when we got older and we left home, she was done.
There's so much to unpack there.
Yeah.
I've lots of questions. I mean, the first thing that I wanted to ask was, in retrospect, with everything you know now about healthy relationships, do you think that was the right call from your mum?
That's a really hard one to answer. I kind of wish she didn't do it for her.
Uh-huh.
And I'd like to think I wouldn't do it, but then I'm not a father.
Yeah.
You know, everything she does for us, and she sacrificed her whole career. She was more successful than my dad when they met. She was doing brilliantly, and she took on the greatest role, the greatest parent role you can ever take. Like, fuck being a hedge fund manager or owning a startup or whatever. She took on the role of being a mother, and she was very proud to be. And so all her values were in line with us, right? Every single decision had us in mind. She was completely selfless. So with that in mind, she doesn't look back and go, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
Yeah,
she doesn't look back in regret. She believes she did the right thing. I kind of wish she didn't, because she wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And what's weird, that they still connected. They still were good friends, but he went off and had affairs. And a lot of the time she didn't realize it wasn't. She didn't know it was happening all the time. She kind of assumed it wasn't anymore. They always got on really well. So it's quite strange. And what's even weirder is my granddad, he had an affair. So my dad's dad had an affair. And one day my grandpa gave my dad, so my dad's father, gave him this family heirloom, which is very old English. He gave him a Bible. And it was and every oldest son got the Bible. And it was signed by every oldest son. So my grandpa gave it to my dad, and my dad kicked the chair back. They were in a pub, and my mum was there. Kicked the chair back, slammed the Bible down on the table, and stormed out. Mum went outside, goes, "What's going on?" He said, "He's broken every single commandment in that Bible, and he's given me a Bible."
Wow.
20 years later, he has multiple affairs. It's confusing. It's really hard to wrap your mind around it. And when I asked my mum about it, she's like, "He's not a bad man." I'm like, You know, at the time, all I wanted her to do was throw every expletive at the wall and say he's an arsehole.
Yeah.
But she never did once, because she didn't want to create this negative. She didn't want to make us believe that he was a bad person.
Well, exactly.
She didn't want to put that veil over the top. She said he's selfish. He chose him, but he's not a bad man, and he's a good father.
Yeah.
And that was confusing again, because I wasn't developed enough to know that, again, she's putting us first. She wants us to have a good view of him. Selfless.
Well, precisely. It sounds like she was trying to protect you in that scenario.
But it's a good question. When does selfless become stupid?
Exactly.
When does selfless become like we live once.
Yeah.
I'd like to think if I was with someone, regardless of having kids, if they were cheating on me, see you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Exactly.
You're not good enough for me. You're treating me badly. In the bin. I deserve better. I deserve someone who's going to love me fully, like I love you. So she endlessly gave that respect to him, and he didn't give it back. So where does that land?
Well, and the other thing, I mean, we'll come on to this in a minute, but is if you are setting an example that behaviour is forgivable or allowed, then that may have an impact on your moral compass and your ability to think about infidelity, right? When you become an adult. And I mean, I think about my own mum and dad, and they broke up when I was 4, right? Because my dad just wasn't able to show up and be a good husband and a good father. There wasn't any infidelity, but if I look at that in retrospect, and I used to be so angry at my mum for breaking up with my dad, because I was like, "You've broken up our family," and it took me years to get rid of that anger and start to understand it from her perspective, because I thought that was a selfish decision. But I think in retrospect, being in a family environment with two very, very unhappy parents would have been more damaging for me than having one parent that was able to show up fully.
Yeah.
And this is the yin and the yang, I think, with both of our situations.
Do you think it's possible to have a long-term relationship in this day and age?
Mate, you're going off topic. I got that right at the end of the show notes.
All right, we'll come back. We'll come back to it.
No, let's come back to that, because it is. Let's blow that one up a little bit. But
yeah. Look, what's interesting, what you said earlier, is that you became a fuckboy.
Yeah.
And you became avoidant.
Yeah.
As a result of your father's behavior, and you did it subconsciously. So you probably wouldn't have thought you were doing it. And so what's interesting is I kissed a few girls in my first relationship. I never went the full Monty.
Yeah.
But I broke this girl's heart, my first ever girlfriend, because I basically cheated on her, right? I think you're cheating even if you're talking to a girl, let alone kissing a girl or sleeping with a girl. I think if you're talking to them, you have the mindset of wanting to speak to them. That's cheating. Yeah. And I did that, and I broke that person's heart. And the reason why I will never ever cheat on anyone in my life, I'll tell you why, is because I have cheated. My first relationship, I kissed a few girls. I was cheated on for 4 months. My second girlfriend was sleeping with her ex-boyfriend behind my back. I was broken for 3 years, really. And my dad cheated on my mum. You can witness it, dad and my mum. You can be a part of it and do it, and you can actually be sadly in the game of it and be cheated on. And when you've seen all sides and you see how much damage it brings, it's not worth it. Not one ounce of it.
It's not. But when I think about my past and why I would treat people badly, or why I would not be able to communicate fully, or why I would be flaky when I was dating people, it didn't come from a place of malice. It came from a place of fear, right? And not wanting to show up and be fully in that relationship with that person, because I was so scared that they would walk away, just like my dad did, basically.
But you come across as someone with malice.
Well, this is the thing, right?
But
that's the selfish versus selfless bit again.
Yeah, but how many times can we? My mum always said to me, she said, when I was treated badly by my ex, I would always go, it's okay, it's because of her stuff. Right? The reason she acts like that is because she's been treated badly there. And she'd always go, if you continuously give someone a reason for their bad behavior, then you'll constantly be putting them on the pedestal, saying that
reinforcing it,
and then you constantly put yourself second.
Yeah,
you reinforce, and so there's a really strange medium there, and I don't really know how to navigate it. So where if someone treats me badly, I'm like, oh, they're treating me badly because of that, or no, I deserve better. See you later. It's a really hard one to navigate. So how much empathy do you give someone for treating you badly, versus how much self-respect do you give yourself when someone treats you badly?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's tough.
But when I think about that line, I was too sensitive in my early relationships, and my line was too easy to cross, because any sort of sense that I got that person's trying to take advantage of me, or that person is going to ultimately reject me, I'd be like, I'm going to get in there first. So any little sense, if I didn't get a text back for a day, I'd be like, fuck it, I'm done. I'm done with it. They're not stepping up in the way that I wanted them to, because that's how I wanted my father to step up.
Wow.
So and actually, what I've learned in my current relationship and over the past couple of years, I'd say, is that you have to give people a little bit more of an allowance. And I'm not saying that's forgiving infidelity. It's nowhere near that. But what it is accepting that everyone is flawed and everyone's got their own shit going on. And sometimes they're not going to be able to show up for you in the way that you need them to.
Yeah, I think, would you agree that under no circumstance should anyone ever go back to someone?
Oh, I love it.
If they're cheated on.
I don't know. I don't know if I do agree with that. Because, firstly, it depends on your interpretation of cheating. If someone slept with someone else behind my back, I'd find that unforgivable. But if someone was in a nightclub, smashed, and I was 6 months into a relationship with them and they kissed someone, I could forgive that.
But then can you trust it? This is the thing, though. If someone, I think it's harder if someone cheats on you, regardless of being drunk. Well, you're, and then you get back with them. Well, they were willing to get that drunk to make that decision when they were supposed to have your trust and protect your trust in this glass. Trust is like glass; it's broken, it's in smithereens, and you can trust that person again. I don't think I can, because I just think they'll do it again.
Yeah. But I could understand why that would be your perspective based off everything you've talked about at the top of the show.
Exactly.
And this is it, I guess, to sort of round off that point. It's you're a product of your own experiences and your own upbringing. So can we talk? We talked in the prep call a little bit about roles, like gender roles, and specifically when you think about your mum and your dad and how those roles kind of showed up and how they've influenced your view of how you should show up in relationships. Just tell me a bit about that.
How I should show up based on my upbringing?
Do you think there's anything that you've learned from your parents specifically that you've now taken into a relationship dynamic?
Because my dad was closed off, I did everything to be the opposite.
Yeah.
And so I think I did this really subconsciously. I think it was a reaction to never getting emotional comfort from him. You know, interestingly, even though I got so much comfort from my mum, I assumed that would be fine for me. But really, the way I position myself as a man in society is like, he's my model of what a man's like.
Yeah.
So then again, what men are fun. They don't open up.
Uh-huh.
I won't feel accepted if I open up. They are distrustful. Right. So this is how I view men. Right. And when it comes to women, my mum was this most selfless, emotional, loving being. So I walked through into relationships never asking for a woman to be emotional because I assumed they were. So what's funny is my ex, who was to give you a little bit, paint a picture of her, is I painted the picture. So I was writing down, start of January, I said, this year I'm going to meet someone who looks like this, but that came last. It was really like, she's funny, she runs a startup, we're going to meet naturally and organically.
Yeah.
She's into fitness and well-being, and this is how she looks. That's what I wrote, right? I didn't write anything on values. I didn't write anything on emotion. And I didn't write anything on connection because I assumed that every single woman is able to go vulnerable and deep because my mum did.
Yeah.
And I never wrote anything about the two most important parts that actually are the foundation of a long-term relationship. And so I met that person and I was like, oh my God, I manifested this.
This is it.
And what's interesting about manifestation is we manifest bad things as well as we manifest good things. So you have to be really careful with how we manifest and write things down, because I truly believe that was the energy I was putting out. I want to meet this person. She's into this. It was all about what she's into, but it's not what we were able to do together as a partnership.
Yeah.
And then I'm left going, what the hell? I thought all women could be like this because I went through my life assuming that all women could be a certain way. Right. And so my reaction to my dad being closed off was that I went super vulnerable and open, and I often put myself second because I'd be like, well, I'm here to listen. You know, I'll be the emotional man because no other men are. You know, when I was 20, my reaction to my mum was. Made the assumption. I joked to my mum. I was like, "You definitely fucked us up a little bit." And she said, "I did not." And I was like, "Because you were so emotionally loving. That can a woman ever be that loving?"
God, I was the same with my mum. She was incredibly expressive emotionally. She created an environment where, as kids, we were taught that any way we felt was the right way to feel. And when I reflect back on that now, I think for the most part, that was a really good thing to integrate into your children. But her ethos was also about, you just have to do what makes you happy. And when I reflect back on that, that's when I needed a dad to come in and say, happiness is important. But I wish I had someone who's also going to be like, you're really good at football. You should make the most of that. Or you're very academic. This is what happens if you apply yourself academically. You'll achieve more. And because I didn't have that. And that meant that I was a kid that was taught that emotional expression was a good thing. I was very, very good at that, but I wasn't driven. I didn't even know what I wanted to do because I was just taught that however I was feeling, that was okay, right? And that meant that whenever I was feeling more challenging emotions, I wouldn't think I need to work through these or I need to be resilient. I would just sit with them, and that. But
that male figure didn't show you
exactly
what it's like to be a man. And even if your mum was the feminine and the masculine, you're not looking at her thinking that's a model of me.
No, exactly.
This is why a huge percentage of inmates in prisons have broken homes, and usually the father isn't present.
Yeah.
And a woman can't just bring up a healthy household. They need the man too. There's such a beautiful combination.
I agree.
Of the feminine and the masculine.
Yeah.
And a father saying, "I'm proud of you and I care about you," it goes such a long way. And a father showing a man how he should be be these lovely parts of these great strong parts of masculinity, but are you able to communicate? If a father's able to do that, then you'll know you'll better be able to understand what position you need to be in to be a man in society.
Exactly.
But
And it's interesting because I would always, when I was younger, I'd always reject those sort of masculine and feminine tenets, like those traits, because I'd be like, it's a load of bollocks. But that came from a place of fear and from a place of protecting my mum, because I was like, she had to be both of those things, and I would always be. She did an amazing job. I'd never ever pick a flaw in how she parented us. But I think now we're at a point where she's very open, and she was like, yeah, I needed a man, like, and I needed a man as well, you know. So, and it's interesting because when I think about my view of romantic relationships, I'd reject those ideals too, and that would often mean that I wasn't able to step into, let's call it masculinity for lack of a better expression, like wasn't able to step into those certain masculine roles with my partner because I would reject them. And when I think about my relationship now, she adores the fact that I step up and plan. She likes the fact that I pay for nice things when we go out together, and I never thought that was part of me. In fact, I'd say it wasn't. But
because you're worried about being taken advantage of.
Exactly.
So so if a woman maybe asked for those things, or you met a woman who was very deeply in their feminine, right, and a woman who wants to be protected, would you run?
Not now, but I would have done. And to that point, I would also really devalue the idea of like being in that feminine space, and I would completely disregard how that would make me feel. And what I know with Sonia is like, I mean, we have our ritual every weekend where we smoke a joint and we go to the cinema, and that's what we do, and we just spend this time together. And
that's the only time you see each other all week.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And she'll sort of like we have a very different presence when we're together, and it makes me feel so incredibly like grounded, and I don't know, I'm going to use the word safe. Like, it makes me feel safe, but in a different way to how she feels safe.
This is interesting. Men want to feel safe too.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I'm bored of the narrative that just women want to feel safe and secure. Actually, as a man, I want to feel safe and secure as well, and so do you. Men want to feel safe and have that consistency. And there's a lot of big narrative around men not doing that for women, but actually, men need it too.
I agree.
Men need to feel that like they're with someone who's reliable and consistent and trusting. Right?
Yeah.
And I more than ever am searching for that because what happened before, I was with someone who wasn't emotionally able, who wasn't consistent, who I didn't trust, and who left me walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
So what do I search for now? Stability.
Exactly.
And I'm bored of the whole masculine feminine thing. It really pisses me off.
Yeah.
Oh, are you in your feminine, masculine? Sorry, it is a massive rainbow.
I agree.
And I think it's like when an ex says, "Oh, my ex is a narcissist." It's like, well, no, there's a whole load of tendencies, and it probably hasn't been tested to be a narcissist. And you've got to understand that we all have narcissistic tendencies, and that's the beauty of mental health. Really, is because it's and mindset and motivation, all these things that are created in the mind. It's a rainbow. So say someone's masculine, say someone's feminine, I think it's unfair to the human being that we are.
Yeah.
There are days when I feel more like I'm going to go get and I want to protect. There are days when I want to be more emotionally able. There are things I'm trying to work on in my feminine and my masculine. But then if we just shut it out and say it's layers, and we're all doing our best, I think you can maybe get through it. You can translate it better. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think people put masculine and feminine labels on it because it's easy and it's lazy, but and I do. I mean, it's another thing that I've had to come to terms with over the past couple of years is like biologically men and women are different and we show up in different ways, and that's okay. And I've probably had to lean more into my masculine in my current relationship than I have done in previous relationships. But do you know what? I fucking enjoyed it. I love it. And maybe that was the piece that was missing because I'd reject those things historically. I
would as well. So for so long, I would attract these women who didn't need to rely on me.
Yeah.
And were overly self-reliant and worked themselves to the bone and maybe came from wealthy upbringings so that they wouldn't have to rely on me because I had a fear of being relied upon, which took me out of my masculine and protector mode. And deeply, I want to be able to protect a woman and look after her. And I think a woman wants that too. The more women I speak to want to be with a man who shows up for her and protects her, makes her feel safe and gives her consistency. And so at the core, I'd like to be that for a woman, even though it scares me a little bit.
If you were to look in the mirror and think about how you show up in romantic relationships, what would you say What are your flaws? What are you bad at? What are your weak points?
Can we talk about what I'm good at first?
No, but this isn't a dating show, Jules.
Okay, cool. I've been a little avoidant. I've been quite avoidant, actually, finding reasons to not attract someone.
Yeah.
And I keep telling everyone I want to meet someone, and then I will find a quick reason to as to why that person's not right. Or I'm moving country, I can't do it. Or I'm so busy at my business, how could someone fit into that? So I think, but that avoidance comes from I was broken and now I feel so good on my own.
Uh-huh.
And for so long I viewed women as danger.
Yeah.
Danger, danger, danger. They're going to corrupt my beautiful mindset and space. My brother calls me a robot because I'm just so able to wake up early, go to work, look after my body, do my things, go to bed early, read a book. I'm so set in my routine, and I don't crave someone next to me in bed. I hug my pillow happily. I've fallen into this space of avoidance, but in fact, I'm not meeting women and going, hey, I'm not creating this anxious avoidant attachment. When I meet people, I'm like, by the way, I'm moving and this is where I'm at, and I'm very open about it. Yeah. But that's probably my biggest flaw.
Interesting.
But my greatest the thing I'm most proud of is my willingness to know that and be aware of it. Yeah. I don't want to collect a jar of hearts, and I don't want to meet someone, lead them down the garden path, and say, sorry, this wasn't what it was. Very easy to do when you're in avoidance space.
I think so. I mean, talked about the yin and the yang earlier. What I often see, I mean, in the men's community I run, we have a thriving singles and dating subgroup, and what those guys will often find, the pattern that's set is, dating's really hard at the moment. Let's talk about that in a minute. But they'll meet someone, they'll go on a date with them, and immediately they'll be like, oh my God, this is the person. And they set this unrealistic expectation, put a load of pressure on it, and then when it doesn't work out, it creates these feelings of anger or distrust, when more often than not, it's like, well, that person didn't make any level of commitment to you. They are a stranger. You know, they owe nothing to you. Yeah. And so the flip side of the avoidant piece is, and what I often found when I was dating, was that because you're a bit more standoffish and you want to take your time, that can often have positive benefits as well, you know?
It's so counterproductive to actually, because it's a shame actually. I wish the avoidant was because a lot of people are insecure when they meet someone who's a bit less in your face and excited. Yeah. Then they go, "Oh,
something wrong with me.
They're really elusive and sexy and cool," and that comes from an unhealthy place. Yeah. I attracted an avoidant ex, but probably from an unhealthy place. I didn't realize I was there. I wanted to feel good enough for her. And so we went into this anxious, avoidant attachment thing. The more I felt less interested in a relationship, the more I have, the more attention I get from women. Yeah. Oh, like it's and then so I have to fight with my instinct of wanting to meet people, have sex, have fun, and all these things. But where does that lead? That leads to disappointment and heartbreak because I end up hurting someone. So if you're avoidant, don't date. Yeah. However much you come across as sexy and cool and all these and desirable, I mean, you're going to hurt people. I don't think that's spoken about enough. You will hurt people. And even if you say, by the way, because I've done this, if you say to a woman, by the way, I'm not looking for anything, this is just fun, it's likely she'll want to change you. Yeah, absolutely. And when you have sex the first time, she's going to feel far more connected hormonally than you will as a man. And so she's getting more connected. You told her. So you're like, fine, my insurance is there. I don't have to worry. But you're leading her on. Still leading her on, even if you tell her. Yeah. If you're avoidant and you don't want to be in a relationship, don't date. Yeah. Don't even get to the point. Because if you think if a woman thinks she can play the game of casual with a man and win, it's a failure waiting to happen. She can't.
I do often see a lot of men who almost wear that stance as a badge of honor.
Oh, it's nice.
Where they're like, hey, I'm not looking for anything serious. If you want to come at me and change me, that's okay. But just to let you know, I'm not looking for anything.
Did you do that?
Of course. Yeah. I would do it. I thought that it was a good thing.
No, but it is nicer.
Communicative.
But it's nicer.
It's nicer than pretending that you want something. But
Yeah, and-
I do completely agree with your point there that it's still damaging.
Yeah, and then the woman goes, well, that's so kind of you to let me know. She thinks suddenly she can trust you more because
Yeah.
you're open with her.
Yeah.
And she thinks, she'll be thinking, well, if I'm spend enough time with him, then I will, then he will fall in love with me because we'll have such a connection. And it's likely that you'll talk about things, you'll go deep. But if someone from the offset, if a man, to women listening to this, if a man says to you that he only wants to be casual with you, believe him. If a man is taking his time and is not committing to you, believe that he won't be committal. Like, he's keeping his options open.
Yeah.
Right? People tell you who they are pretty early. But because we've got these goggles on and we get really excited by the fact, it's so exciting, this person, you never know. And we're thinking forward and we think this could be the person. There's attraction, there's chemistry, there's all these things. Believe what they say.
Yeah.
Often the person says very early on who they're likely to be.
It's this juxtaposition between the idea that certain men would like to go back to more traditional gender archetypes, right? And I think, there's an element of you which probably find that, where it's like, I want to step more into my masculine. And the women that you've dated historically have been incredibly driven, go-getters, not able to communicate that well emotionally, right? And this whole juxtaposition comes from a place of feminism, ultimately, right? Where you have women now that, I'm not saying that it's a level playing field, but women have more opportunity than ever before. And one of the big problems that I see in dating at the moment is that women expect more from men, and they expect to have those traditional masculine traits, but they also need men to be able to express themselves and be communicative and sit with their feelings. And I think for a lot of men, they're finding that shift quite difficult. And I think that's where a lot of that desire to maybe go back to more traditional archetypes comes from.
The reason why men find that difficult is because they saw the traditional archetype in their parents.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So it's so confusing for us. If we saw our father go out and make the dough, and then mum was the caregiver and looked after you, then that's how you move through the world. Like, that is what I would love to be. And so a man wants to be like his father, right? And unless he starts to hate his father and do everything but what his father gave him, or his father wasn't there, all these things. But if that's what he saw, that's how he will model his life on. Now, there's a lot of awareness that needs to be done. Now, the world is changing, and there's a rise in feminism, a rise in women getting equal rights and work, and more CEO women and women founders and all these things. I think it's epic, by the way. It's really cool. But I think it confuses dating.
Yeah.
There are more single women in their 40s, and there are more depressed single men not even leaving their homes and date. The rise of dating apps makes it really makes you think that there's this endless stream of women, so you never commit. And men aren't approaching women, and women complain about it, but then men fear that they're gonna approach a woman and the woman's gonna feel scared.
Exactly.
So it's just so it's this weird landscape of like, what do I need to be as a man to be able to be attractive to a woman? Does she want me to be go-getter, protector, provider, or does she want me to be emotional and kind and sweet? And how do I manage both when I didn't see both when I was growing up?
I think it's, completely fair. I think you hit the nail on the head. But I don't know what the solution is. It's almost like we've created this perfect storm where men to be able to show up to women and meet the expectations of women feels impossible from a male perspective. And then from a female perspective, this is heterosexual relationships only. They're also saying, I don't think I need a man anymore, and almost rejecting the idea of
it's just a stupid comment.
Partnership.
But it's a stupid comment. Like, it's to say I don't need a man anymore. Well, that further drives men into the ground, thinking they're worthless and they're pathetic and their self-esteem drops.
I agree.
I truly believe, as a heterosexual man, that a woman needs a man and a man needs a woman, and deeply we want that. Like, regardless of upbringing or trauma or pain, I see a lot of women saying that it's pointless to date in this day and age, and you saw that article, is it embarrassing to have a boyfriend, all these different things. There is something so beautiful in a healthy heterosexual relationship.
Yeah,
there really is.
I agree.
And I think we all want it. Like, the more we complain about men, and the more we complain about women, and the more we fight against each other, the more we feel less connected. And I think there's a lot of men hate out there. There is.
I agree.
And it's. I'm just saying, as a male point of view, because obviously the men hate's gonna I'm gonna feel that more than the women hate. You don't see as much. You don't see people complaining about women much. You see a lot of people complaining about men. But really, it's a partnership. It takes two to tango. Women fuck it up too. And so I think more love would be the answer.
and again, I mean, you touched on it before, dating apps, but I think it's a broader thing than just the apps. I think it's about every single talking point, topic in relationships and dating becoming commoditized into a 30-second clip, and everyone being like, that's the truth, that's my truth, you know? And people are just sat at home finding these little tribes of people that they think they're connecting with, when actually you've just got to get out there. And it's what I said. I mean, I run a men's group with 1,700 guys in it, and what I say to all of them is, do not let an individual experience dictate your worldview, your view of people more generally, because you might get ghosted. Do not let that make you become angry at all women, because it's not all women, just like it's not all men, you know? And it really frustrates me, because more often than not, these guys are just like in their little echo chambers where they get more and more frustrated. And I'm like, just like leave your fucking house.
Yeah, and also the more you complain about men, or the more men complain about women, is the more likely, the more you will likely believe that bad luck will come your way again.
Yeah.
But if you intelligently blame yourself for attracting that person, then you can make the change to make better boundaries.
Exactly.
If you actually go, oh, I played a part here.
Yeah.
I had to get there with my ex who cheated on me. Because at the start I went, what a, I can't believe she did that. Poor me. The world dealt me a bad hand, and I went massively into the victim, but I made zero change. But when I realized that actually I played a part in attracting that person, and actually there were some red flags early, and actually I probably should have ended it sooner. When I got there and went, I played a part, then I made change to make sure I track better next time.
Yeah.
But if you blame the world, you make zero change, because it's the world's fault. It's not your fault.
Yeah, man, this is hard. But I agree. And sometimes when I have these conversations with my male friends that are single, like, sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind, and I'm terrible at it. But I can identify pretty quickly where they're going wrong, and it's not the things that they think they're getting wrong that they're getting wrong.
What are they getting wrong?
You know?
Because that's interesting. Not many people have that sort of data.
Yeah.
A group of men discussing how women could be better, how they got burnt by women. This isn't something we hear about. So what is the data suggesting?
All right. These are hot takes, hot off the press. So I think for a lot of these guys, I want to be absolutely clear. These guys in my men's group and more broadly in my following, like, these guys are guys that are inquisitive and curious and want to learn. But I think they take the whole emotional expression piece too far and show up on dates and try and be really, really vulnerable, but they don't then lean into the masculine qualities, which I think women are looking for too. Like, there's a difference between being strong emotionally and being a bit wet, like, and I'm going to call it out, because I think sometimes I don't think that's how you should show up on a first date. I think you're more than welcome to be emotionally vulnerable and talk about your past, but I also think you need to consider what else a woman's looking for, because it's not just about emotional vulnerability.
So now going on dates and being vulnerable, you might come across as wet. That's challenging again for a man.
Yeah,
isn't it?
It's so hard. It's so hard.
So I shouldn't cry on my first date.
but this is why I think it becomes so difficult, because every single narrative has got a counter narrative, and you cannot. I mean, this is one of the ironies about there's a single and dating group in my men's group, and they talk about women as if there's like a sole sort of way that women operate, and every single person is different, and so it's like one woman's trash is another woman's treasure, and it works the same the other way around. So the other thing I say to them is, like, just get better at showing up authentically, because you cannot change how you are to other people. Like, it's just show up who you are, and then what I always talk about is, like, put some flair around that. So it's the softer skills, like learning to be a bit more charismatic or engaging, rather than being so concerned about showing up in a way which is going to please the person you're on a date with. Just concentrate on yourself.
Do you think you should, as a man, just go out there and just date lots of women, just so you can just get used to understanding what it is like to show up for a woman? Because if you're going on one date every 3 months, I mean, that's probably, I don't know what the average is. I wish I had the number, but I reckon people are going on dates far less than that. So if you're going on 3 dates a year,
it's hard.
How can you ever be good at that? Like, let's talk about, like, repping the muscle of communicating with a woman. It's like you're getting that from sound bites on Instagram. From a relationship coach going, this is how you should communicate with a woman. I mean, and also I think you can overanalyze. Is it more simple than it comes across? Is it just, if you turn up and just be yourself, don't try and be over emotional. Don't try and be all these things. Just be yourself. Because then if you're yourself, well, you just attract someone who wants that person.
Exactly. This is the thing.
Do we overcomplicate?
I think so. And it's never going to be sustainable if you show up as the person that you think that they want you to be. But going back to the topic of the episode, it's one thing I wanted to ask you about. I don't want to say in any way that we are charming or charismatic men, but when you mentioned your father and you mentioned some of the more positive characteristics that he has, did you find that you would often model some of your behaviour on him? You mentioned he was a very fun, joyful man. So is there anything else that you learned from him?
He could charm anyone.
Yeah.
He is so charismatic.
Uh-huh.
He's an after dinner speaker now, so he has this
Right.
ability to communicate. And he'd sit right here and you'd love him. He's the greatest storyteller I've ever met.
Yeah.
The reason why I feel comfortable to talk and feel at ease with communicating and just talking and being able to speak, and if someone asked me to do an after dinner speech, whatever, I'd feel fine doing that, is because of him. But the thing is, when you have that ability, you can lead people up the wrong way, right? I guess maybe, I don't know. He actually interestingly said to my mum, by the way, I'm not great at being loyal, but I'm willing to try with you.
Right.
He said that at the start. Talk about telling people who you're going to become.
So, and then the other thing I really want to talk with you about, Jules, is when you look at him as a man, and some of those qualities are quite desirable as a son, did you find that you would notice patterns as you were growing up where you would pick up some of his behaviour? And was there ever a point where you were like, I need to address that because not all of this is good?
Not at all.
No?
I was so emotionally unaware that I had to do the work.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I idolized him. You know, I idolized him completely. I never
did with
knew
my
about the
dad.
adultery until my mum wanted to divorce him for it.
Right.
And he said, no, don't do it. Don't divorce me for adultery. Like, what about the boys? And mum said, I'll ask the boys. And she asked us, and we said, fucking right. Get rid of him. Put him in the bin. See you later.
How old were you?
We were 19.
Right.
Old enough to know all about it and angry enough to put him up against a wall, which we didn't. But if it was on request from mum, we would have done so.
Yeah. But I don't think that's old enough to be able to take the responsibility to make that decision.
No,
on behalf of
I held a lot of responsibility for looking after my mum. I held a lot of responsibility for looking after my brother, who was going through some mental testing, challenging times.
Yeah.
So I always felt like I had to be the strong one. I always felt like I had to be this strength and this force. Dad left, mum was left to, had to look after the house. We supported her in more ways than you can imagine. And that was tough also. I thought it was a good thing doing it and supporting mum. I felt grateful that I could do it because I loved her so much, but we had to provide.
Yeah.
And because he wasn't there, I didn't resent mum for it. I resented him for it.
Uh-huh.
He was the reason. She was the caregiver. She looked after us, and now she couldn't look after this big house that he left. So there was a lot of resentment and anger, and then we had to look after mum, and then that's why I ended up attracting women who didn't need to rely on me, and this fear of, will women take advantage of me? Not because I think my mum took advantage of me, but because I had to do that, and at a young age it didn't feel right because I always thought a man would provide. It's a very strange thing that I'm going deeper with at the moment to try and understand better why I attract the women that I do, and ultimately going back to our previous conversation, I want to be a provider, I want to look after, and I want to be with a woman who's in her feminine.
Yeah.
I love those roles. I think they're beautiful, and I think they work.
And what's your relationship with your dad like now?
I wrote 50 questions on my notes to ask him. I would just write them sometimes. I've never got past question 1.
Wow.
Now we go to see him. He's a great support of our business. I can call him up and have a great chat, but it never goes past a level of vulnerability. Like he's amazing fun. Like he's amazing. Like to chat to, he's fun.
Yeah.
But how far does that as a relationship go when you can't talk about emotions and feelings? Like I've got to question 2 and it just goes to humor. I think I said, what's your biggest regret? Thinking, well, there's an obvious one there. And he goes, oh, well, when I was on the golf tee and I hit it, I hooked it around the corner.
Right.
Everything's sport, jokey. And what I've learned is you can't change anyone. And I really think I've evolved here and my relationship with him is that I can't change him. And actually, I don't think it's that he doesn't want to. I think he's so unrepped at it.
Yeah.
That he doesn't know how to. So if I try and deeply talk about emotions, I don't think he's going to know how to go there because I don't think he's ever gone there. And his dad never went there. And so there has to be empathy there that I can't change a 67, 68-year-old man.
My belief is that everyone is capable of looking inward and having that self-reflection. It just comes from a place of fear. He doesn't know what he's going to find. And because I would find myself being, I mean, first, I think it's a real privilege that you're able to have those conversations with your dad, right? And say, I want to understand you a bit better. But if I asked my father, what's your biggest regret? And my response was the golf tee response. I'd get so frustrated. I'd be like, take this seriously. I'm trying to understand who you are because this is for me. This is about my own growth.
Yeah, and if a man doesn't give that to his son, then his son won't feel good enough for him.
Yeah.
See, the reason why I for so long didn't feel good enough for my dad was because, more recently, is because he doesn't go deep with me.
Uh-huh.
And so then the self-reflection is, am I not, there's an element of not feeling good enough for him. I don't know why. That's where my gut's saying that feeling, but it's not. But it really, again, has nothing to do with me, right?
Yeah.
This is the thing, right? If you ever feel not good enough for someone, or someone treats you badly, or someone doesn't treat you in the way that you expected, it's so easy to put the magnifying glass on yourself and go, well, if I was good enough for him, then he would open up to me. You know, my mum, she was amazing when she had, after what she had to go through. She says it still today. She said, he didn't cheat on me. Your father cheating on me was nothing to do with me. Wow, nothing to do with me. Tell me, I've never met someone who's been cheated on who's ever said that. Because when I got cheated on, I thought it was all to do with me.
Yeah.
And that's emotional, power. The reason why my mum didn't want to go into resentment is because my mum's mum, so my mum's mum, she was resentful her whole life from adultery because she got cheated on. And my mum didn't want to die a bitter woman. So she was like, I'm going to heal through this and accept him for his flaws, but I don't need to be with him anymore. But there's parental stuff is so testing and it's so confusing, but we are a complete reflection of
Of course we are.
aren't we?
And so two things on that. The desire to feel seen, heard by your father, and not having that. Have you noticed that show up in any of your relationships with men outside of your dad? I
came to the UK never feeling good enough for a guy mate.
Right, because honestly,
I never felt good enough for a guy mate. But I was also very badly bullied when I was younger.
Right.
So I left 3 schools from it. Never felt good. It took me a long time to feel good enough for a friend. And then I came to London, brand new, fresh slate. And I started attracting people who were, whatever. I mean, this sounds cringy, but cool, tall, good-looking men. And I was confused by it because those were the people who probably would have bullied me. That's how I viewed it. Yeah. And so I remember speaking to my friend. He wouldn't mind me. His name's Matt, and he's one of my best friends in the world. And I think we'd had a few drinks, and I said to him, well, why are you friends with me? And he laughed. We were 23 years old. I just didn't understand it. Tall, model, good-looking guy, just popular guy. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, why are you friends with me? And he laughed and laughed and laughed. He said, mate, I love you, bro. I love you, bro. You're one of my best friends in the world. It took a long time for me to realize that. It took me a long time for me to realize that I'm likable. Yeah. And I didn't really ever match that to dad being unable to show me emotion. I always matched that to school. I don't know if it's lined up with that as well. But
of course it is.
When we feel not good enough, we have to go deeper on as to why. Yeah. If we don't go deeper as to why, we'll continue to resent ourselves. I'm grateful for my self-esteem now because I've done the work and I've worked out that actually, if I don't feel good enough, it's nothing to do with me. Yeah. It's to do with the failing and loss and falling over. And then I've fallen over because I'm not good enough. Instead of, that's a part of life. Yeah. There's so many parallels between your story and mine in terms of my father and how that lack of self-worth would just follow me, and I struggled massively to build male relationships when I was younger. And it was because of the obvious point around distrust and not trust in men that I saw as, I'd put him on a pedestal and think, wow, that's the guy that I really want to be and he's going to hurt my feelings. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So I've never met anyone who's spoken about that in such a clear way and a similar way, because you'd never really hear about that.
People don't talk about male-to-male friendships in that way. it's been the biggest, like most, I don't want to use the word healing, I'm going to use it, like the most healing experience for me to do what I'm doing now and run this men's community, because it's not only I've gone through a process of trusting men, but then it's also a case of, it makes me feel emotional just even talk about it, like becoming the man that my dad wasn't.
Wow.
And being able to step up into that role and not let people down. And it's like such a big responsibility, but it makes me feel like it's what I live for, genuinely. Like it's been the biggest life-changing moment for me, is setting that up.
Wow, and to move away from the generational, probably curse.
Yeah, well, this is it.
Your father is likely reflective of what he got dealt with.
Exactly.
And then what they got dealt with, and what they got dealt with, and what, and you're probably the first time in your family, you're making a change. You're going, really I'm going to open up, and actually you're a result of your mother.
Yeah. Wow.
and how amazingly emotional, and the strength that she gave. But you needed to learn that, didn't you?
It all started with a very horny, avoidant caveman, and it's just been passed down for millennia. And then suddenly, there you go.
And then suddenly opening up, and it's the perfect time to do so, because women are wanting that, and we live in a world where there's more to digest information. I'd love being an emotional man. I love it, and I love the fact that we can sit here and have this conversation when so many men can't. I wasn't like that. I had to do a lot of work, and like to be able to talk about what I'm not good at and the pains and the traumas. We're still working on it, but like it feels nice to be able to feel connected to you on a level that's different to having a beer and talking about events, Yeah,
but mate, honestly, like I even reflect on this circumstance where I'm like, it would intimidate me to sit on a sofa with a man that I barely knew and talk about anything, let alone the deep stuff, right? Because I would put you on a pedestal. I'd be like, that's the guy from TV. And this work has helped me, and for anyone listening, male or female, it will help you immeasurably, because it means that you stop putting people and making assumptions about people and putting pressure on yourself to be liked by them. Like, it's that simple.
That's beautiful.
You just show up as yourself.
That's beautiful.
But it took me ages to come to terms with that.
Whenever I started putting people on a pedestal, and we sometimes do with the company, because we meet venture capital people and and different founders who have exited businesses. And Fabian just looks at me, my twin brother, and he goes, "Jules, everyone's got an arsehole."
Oh, I know, mate. Everyone takes a shit every morning. So,
because we're all on the same playing field, and people are maybe further down the line.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day which went, how it was a founder, and so I'm not going to take it. It was my own. She said, stop comparing your life to someone who's probably been given it, who's probably been given it on a pedestal. Like, stop giving. If you're comparing your financial, a lot of people put their value on money. Yeah. Right. There's a part of me that. I put a lot of my value on my purpose and succeeding and being good enough, and it's being good enough for myself, or my 80-year-old self, or my younger self that didn't think I could be here right now. But it's so easy to compare. If we just talk about money for a sec, which is a completely different topic, but compare to someone's story 10 years down the line, or to the trust fund kid who's been given the money, or all these different things. It's like we're on this path, we can't compare, and it's the same with dating. It's like, you don't even know if that person's happy, and they're cuddling each other in a Bali pool, and they look all good. It's like we continue to compare, and I know this is very easy. Comparison's thief of joy, blah 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 blah. But it's so true, and I do my best not to look at stuff online and not swipe through, because a load of it's crap. When I was very unhappy, I just posted happy pictures the whole time because I wanted people to think I was, And now actually I'm willing to go. You know what? I fuck it up. I'm not that great. Sometimes I'm avoidant. I'm doing my best. Like I'm, sometimes selfish. I sometimes move through the world in a way that isn't, I'm not very proud of, but I'm doing my best. And like that is, if we can all combine forces and go with that narrative, oh my God, the world would be a better place, wouldn't it?
I think so. It's one of the most satisfying feelings when I meet someone who is on the surface very, very successful, and they come across as very closed or very mean, or in certain cases cold, and I'm like, I think I understand why you're like that. And that's for me what levels the playing field, because I'm just trying to think about who they are as a human, and it's really nice when you can think about people like that.
The greatest form of intelligence is achieving a life that you're happy with.
Yeah,
I think that's cool.
All right,
rather than achieving $1 billion and being unhappy. A lot of these billionaires are walking around in fractured homes
Yeah, exactly.
and 4 divorces
Yeah.
and are not happy. And if you are happy, then that's it. Like that, if you are, or fine, if you're at peace, with your life and you don't want change, if you wake up in the morning, you're like, do you know what?
Yeah.
I'm all right. I mean, I feel like if we were to simplify it completely, because there's so many voices everywhere, if we just simplify life, do you wake up feeling at ease?
Content, yeah. We could do a whole episode on that. And because as I move through my life, I think I'm starting to understand it a bit better. And for me, like, I don't want to reduce it to a single soundbite, but it is about how you connect with people. Like, that's what I notice in my own self. But
Yeah.
I know people have different experiences, but that's certainly what's been my biggest driver.
But on the other side, if you wake up in the morning and there's something you want to change, and you actually ask yourself that, I remember listening to, I think it was Jordan Peterson, he said the clear the mess analogy. And the clear the mess analogy is, if you went into my living room and I went, mate, it's a fucking pigsty in here, it's a shithole, can you help me clean it up? You would know how to clean it up, right? You'd open the curtains, you turn the TV off, you take the mug out, you hoover the floor, you spray a couple of sprays, whatever, you clean the room.
Yeah.
And then everyone in the world would know how to clean that room. It's very simple, we clean a living room.
Mm-hmm.
But how often do we ask ourselves that question? And so I got into a really like good habit of going, what do I want to change?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm not waking up at peace, what do I want to change? What in my life could be better? Just that. And then your gut really wakes up. When you ask those questions, your gut goes, oh, that could be good if you don't feel so good around that person.
Yeah.
Maybe are they good for your life?
Yeah.
Or you're not looking after your wellness enough. You're probably drinking a bit too much at the weekend. These things come up if you ask the question. And when you ask the question, then you're left with action. And that's where most people don't follow the gut, don't follow the answer, and then are left with lack of self-respect because they didn't follow what their intuition is saying. And the more you ignore your intuition, it's like that person in another room knocking on the door going, hey, make a change.
Yeah.
The more you ignore, the quieter it gets. So if you were to wake up in the morning and ask, am I at peace or do I want change? If there's something you need to change, how can you take action to that change? Because the answers usually arise. I mean, for me, they did.
Yeah.
You know?
We've talked about a lot in this episode. I'm going to bring it to a close in a minute. I've got a few questions that I wanted to ask you. Let's call them quick fire questions. Not a standard part of the show, but all based on our discussion so far. So no right or wrong answers. If someone's listening to this episode and realizing that they're noticing that they're repeating their parents' mistakes, how do they start addressing that?
Talking to their parents about it.
Yeah.
If it's a quick fire and we've got to go quick, I'd say it's really cool that you've realized. That's the first step. But can you speak to them about it?
And try and understand them better, where it came from for them?
Because they'll know that they're not perfect. Because every parent fucks it up. Every parent's trying their best. A baby is perfect in its form. And then humans come along.
We end up fucking up, don't we?
So I'd say match stuff to your parent upbringing more than you probably do at the moment. I think it's powerful to do so.
Yeah.
Don't resent them for it because they're flawed.
I gotta say, it was the biggest revelation in my life when I started to realize that my mum was a human being, not just a caregiver.
Wow.
Changed my life.
Yeah.
So, all right. We spoke about this bit before we started shooting. When you're dating, right, and you're able to reflect on yourself, your behavior, your trauma, how much of that should you communicate in the early stages of dating?
I would want to know it all.
Yeah.
But I went out with someone who couldn't emotionally communicate. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. So
but I also think, then again, it's different for a man and a woman.
Yeah.
I if she asks, give it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. If she asks, she wants it.
Yeah.
If she goes, hey, like, what is and it's probably not coming out on date one anyway.
Not.
So if you're just giving it and you're giving all your traumas to her and she hasn't asked for it, I think that's when you go down the side of too much in your feminine, because maybe she wants to be looked after and all those things, but really a woman is eventually going to ask for more information.
Yeah,
she wants to know. She wants to know what you're scared of, what you're challenged with, what your parents' relationships like. She wants to know. As a man, I think give it when she asks for it, or ask her when she's asked you.
Would you feel comfortable hearing about X or,
date 2. No, I'm joking. I don't know. But I think I don't.
Opening message on Hinge. My dad left me. How was your day?
My baggage is so big.
Okay. All right. This is a good one. So you mentioned that your father, a very successful man, very charismatic. How do you stop yourself comparing yourself to someone like that and run your own race?
There are so many things that I don't want in my dad, so I don't feel like I'm running his race. I think I would endlessly compare if he didn't fuck up like he did. So, and I'm doing something so different that I don't feel like I'm running his race. Now, if I was a professional wanting to go into sport, I think I'd endlessly compare because that's what he does. But yeah, I don't compare in success terms in business or work. I feel like we're just so different. But there are also parts of him in his charisma, the way he holds, the way he tells stories, the way he's so much fun that I admire him for.
I don't think there's anything wrong in saying, right, there are certain parts of, so my dad was a very charismatic man. I like the fact that I've inherited some of that from him, but you can also make a conscious decision to say that's all I want to inherit. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I think I'd like to run my own race.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's it. Is there anything that you want to add? Topics? Anything you're working on?
Let's talk about all the greats. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, okay. So that's the warm-up done. What comes next?
I've loved this chat.
I've
really enjoyed it. The antithesis of what we really truly need as human beings is connection, and that's why I started going out in the streets and asking people questions.
Yeah.
That's how we met. I said to you, hey, do you want to jump on the mic?
Yeah.
And what's beautiful is every time I do that, even with a stranger, I feel connected to them, and I feel instantly there's a bond there. And without sounding so simple, how can you listening to this, and how can you, Tom, and how can I find more moments to create connection with people? Ask a question, go deeper. How are you? No, but how are you really? Especially to a man, because men struggle.
Yeah.
And so my mission in life is to get people talking, to open up, because isolation is at its greatest rise. Male loneliness, female loneliness, male suicide. There's a lot of stuff that only connection can heal. So what can you do to support a friend?
Yeah.
I called up a friend the other day and I said, I was weirdly thinking about you. And he said, I'm having a really bad day. Thank you so much for calling me.
Oh, wow.
Don't know what made me want to call him, but he's struggled a lot and at times didn't want to be alive. And I just had a feeling to call him. And he said, I needed you today. Thank you so much.
Wow.
People are going through stuff.
I know.
However much social media paints us as perfect.
Yeah.
It's we're all going through a little something. And so, that's my mission. That's my life's mission in life. So, in terms of what I'm up to, I'm moving to Dubai with my twin brother.
Don't know how to react to that.
Well, that's the plan if I can get a visa. And running a company called Joiner, which is all about connecting and communities. And we want to create the discovery layer to find communities. So how do you find communities in your city? That's how we're launching as.
Amazing.
Which is going to be a good old challenge. But feeling like the purpose part is tapped into well.
Yeah. And guys, I just want to say, to wrap up, Julius does amazing social media content. You interview a bunch of really, really interesting people in your street interviews. So I was lucky enough to be one of those people. Performed really well, just saying. So I just want to say a big thank you for coming on, Jules. Really, really appreciate it. Guys, like, share, comment, do everything you can. It's a new season. We really want to start with a bang. So got an incredible guest in Julius. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next time.